If you're looking for the best coverage for indie wrestling, listen to Aaron and Tom right here at the Hooligans Wrestling Podcast Show.
Welcome, everybody, to the Hooligans Wrestling Podcast Show. My name is Aaron. That's Tom. Tonight, very special guest, one of the best, most underrated tag team wrestlers in all of professional wrestling is Mr. Matt Sigmon.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Doing well. This is take two. We're just going to be straight honest with this. Power went out right in the middle a couple minutes after we started the first episode here. But, hey, that's the way podcasts are sometimes. And live television is the same
pandemic world. Aaron, it's a pandemic world, and nothing is going according to plan for the last 18 months. So I think we're in good shape.
Hey, let's jump right into about where we kind of left off.
Yeah.
You're a 16-year vet who's been up and down the highways for many years, but the pandemic really put that on hold for you, especially someone who is an Iron Man in the world of professional wrestling. Talk to us a little bit about the struggles that you dealt with getting back into the flow of things.
Yeah, it's hard because during this time off, you get used to being at home. Like me, I just bought a new house, so I'm working on house projects. I'm spending time with my family, my young daughter, my wife, and just kind of getting used to that whole life. There's so many guys that went a long time during this pandemic without any bookings, and we're gig workers, and that's how we put food on the table for a lot of us. And Fortunately, I'm blessed to have other sources of income too, but there's a lot of guys who don't. And so this has been a very, very hard time for so many wrestlers and other, any kind of entertainment, other kinds of gig workers too, musicians and some other entertainers. So you get used to this pandemic life and being at home. And thankfully, me and Elliot, we were able to still have one show here and there and stay kind of active for what it was, but it's not quality ring time. It's not consistent. And now we're having to make that shift adjustment back to a new schedule, a consistently active booking schedule. We were going from one show a month, two show a month, maybe max during the pandemic, to now where I'm looking at the schedule for the rest of this month and then looking into April. And it's like, oh my gosh, I got to get used to being back on the road 2 to 4 days a week or more. And it's a big mental shift. It's a big shift physically too, because you got to get used to sitting in the car again for those long 8-hour, 10-hour trips one way, wrestle, bump, grind, whatever, and then go to the next town. And you got to get used to that travel mindset again. And it's tough. But, things are opening back up a little bit here and there, and people hopefully being smart with this. And we just listen to the guidelines and do what we can and press forward. But it's a different way of life, and it's tough. And there's some guys, and I think I told you this when we talked for the book maybe, there's a lot of guys who during this pandemic, they thought they loved wrestling. And then they take this break and they find other hobbies, other interests. And some of these guys aren't going to return when they figure out that this hurts again, and the travel and the time that you have to dedicate to it. And that's not a bad thing. There's so much more to life than wrestling. And I've learned a lot about that too during this time off. How important family and friends and things are, and other passion projects. But it's going to test the will of a lot of people in wrestling to get back full tilt here into action. And I'm curious to see who sticks around and who don't. I won't judge anybody for leaving, but and I'm here till the bitter end. I'm going to be the 65, 70-year-old man that nobody wants to really watch, but they'll put up with it and maybe chant, "He's still got it," if I take a bump. But it's going to be fun to watch the landscape change, because it's going to.
Hey, you're on the path to being signed by AEW in the next 15 years.
Hey, in the next 15 years, it'd be great. One of those days, right? They'll hire me for at least a good week, and then they'll see me and Elliot in the locker room. They're like, what did we do?
Now, talking about things starting to open up and, getting more and more shows and stuff.
Yeah.
How has that been for like the guidelines around fans and the atmosphere for fans, or that, like, I can't wait to go to shows when they start popping up around here.
Yeah.
Like, because we very few around this area that have actually been able to run. But what has your experience been with that as you gain more and more dates? How are the fans and getting into these crowds?
When we first started getting a few bookings here and there, I think we went like 6 weeks, 8 weeks without anything. And then we first started getting bookings. You did the empty arena, kind of like how I think Impact's still doing their TV that way, where nobody's there and no fans. And that was kind of weird transition, but understandable. I mean, people wanted to wrestle, but we need to be safe about it. And that's the smart way to go. Now it depends on the state. Some of these states have athletic commissions, Kentucky, South Carolina, Virginia, Missouri, Oklahoma. There's a few, and some of them are allowing it, some of them are not. Places like Tennessee here, we have some cities and counties that have been allowing some shows with up to 150 fans spaced out, whatever. And then some of these counties here don't care, and it's just free reign. People are just doing whatever they do. And, I went to a show back in December here in Tennessee, and it was wall to wall, no masks, people just going crazy. And I'm just trying to get in the ring, get away from people, wrestle my match, leave, get my money and go. And, we still have a few shows like that too. A lot of them are being smart. A lot of them are, using the guidelines. PWX down in South Carolina, we started running again with them, and that whole team is doing a tremendous job of following the local guidelines with capacity limits, making sure everybody's masked up, doing temperature checks. In between the matches, they've got like 5 people going to the ring, and they're sanitizing everything, the ropes, the turnbuckles. They've got the high-end spray that they're using on the canvas and the aprons and the surrounding mat and stuff. So you feel safe, and guys are even wearing them in the locker room and whatnot. And I think until the vaccine, really kicks in, that's going to be how the majority of professional shows are going to go. Now, there's like I said, there's these mud shows, there's these outlaw shows that are going, and it's anything goes. And it's a crapshoot for, are you going to go and get sick, or are the fans going to get sick? Is there going to be fallout from it liability wise? If they do, I don't know. I try to pick and choose carefully. We try to be smart with, and we always try to be smart with who we do business with. But, I've got my wife and daughter. I don't want to get them sick. And so I'm trying to be smart with that too. But I can't wait for the day where things are more relaxed and open up once the vaccine really rolls out. Hopefully we get to that point. But it's a crazy world out there right now, and the wrestling business is picking up and making some good changes, I think, for the most part, and trying to follow guidelines. But there's always those outliers that don't agree or don't follow rules.
Yeah. Let's look at your career real quick. When you look at your accolades as a tag team wrestler and all the championships that you've won, for some people who do not know, you and Elliot Russell are the Heatseekers.
Yes.
You're a 4-time NWA World Tag Team Champions. And to me, you're a wrestling purist to heart. You do love the entertainment form of it, but you fell in love with tag team wrestling in its purest form. Talk to us a little bit about the Heatseekers as a tag team and where you guys fit into the professional landscape right now, in your opinion.
Yeah, so I've been tagging with Elliot consistently. I mean, that's our main focus for the past 8 years, a little over. And it's tough. A lot of tag teams today are just guys thrown together for one show. or a couple months. A lot of tag teams today don't make it more than a year or 2 years if they're like a true tag team. It's hard because you have to be willing to put up with that person, both, from a professional standpoint, and then you're traveling, you're pretty much married to these people. And so me and Elliot, we have the same mentality a lot with wrestling, because, we both grew up on WWF, WCW, NWA, Continental, Smoky Mountain Wrestling. But me and him both always loved old school wrestling and psychological based wrestling that was treated more like a sport and rather than gimmick. And there's, I've told you in the past too, nothing wrong with that. It's different flavors of ice cream for different people. But me and him have always clicked that way in what we enjoy and what we want to put out in the world. And thankfully, we've been able to do a lot together in the tag team landscape, and, things like the NWA and stuff we've had some fun times with. But we have also had the very, really cool mentorships from Dr. Tom Pritchard, from Bobby Eaton, from Rock and Roll Express, Tracy Smothers, guys that have been around the old school mindset, and guys that specifically were tag team wrestlers, Les Thatcher too. And, they've helped kind of build us up to where we are today and our mindset for tag team wrestling. As far as where we are today, on independent wrestling, I think there's not another team like us. On TV, you've got a few. You've got the FTR at AEW, and they have a very, very similar mindset. They respect tag team wrestling. They respect the history and tradition of the business. So we see eye to eye with them on a whole lot of things. And as far as independent wrestling goes, though, it's very few and far between in terms of teams that are like us. And I love it that way, because no matter the show that we go to, no matter where we are booked, it doesn't matter if it's an old school wrestling show or something more entertainment or kind of spot filled shows with guys going 90 miles an hour. Our matches stand out because we are the ones who are going to stick to true wrestling and old school wrestling and respect the form of the business that we like to present. So I think we're in a good spot. I don't know where this year is going to take us. I don't know what's going to happen in the wrestling business in general over the next year or so, but I'm excited. I think we've got a lot cooking at the moment.
Is there a tag team out there right now that you guys would really love to go 30 minutes with?
I'd like to go 60 minutes with FTR, 2 out of 3 falls. That is my current dream match. And Tully in their corner, and who would we put? We put Bobby Eaton in our corner. And I think that that would be really good wrestling. I don't know if that's what's going to draw millions of people on TV. I don't know if that's the entertainment value that the demographics are wanting these days. But I want 60 minutes, 2 out of 3 falls, Tully in their corner, Bobby and ours, and maybe Rock and Roll at ringside to be judges or something. A true tag team spec. Cornette on commentary, and we can get Tommy Young or somebody to ref. There's all sorts of good refs out there now, but I think it'd be fun.
So you talked about how it's almost like a marriage, going up and down the road, being with each other so much. I'm going to ask this a little bit backwards. So what would he say is the most annoying thing about you?
We argue a lot about music, about politics, about the way, we argue about wrestling here and there. We agree on most of that, but we pick at each other a lot, and there's so he listens to this god awful, terrible music. It's that screamo metal where you can't understand a word anybody's saying. And me, I like country music. I like old school, like 80s and 70s, Eagles and whatnot. But and he likes a little bit of that too. But so we butt heads on music pretty bad. we'll butt heads on places we're going to go to. You gotta be. It's like any kind of relationship. Where are we eating lunch? Where are we going to work out today? What time are we going to get there? Time's another big one. I'm one of the people who likes to leave really early and get to places really early. If it were up to Elliot, we'd show up past bell time at every event we go to, and then there's many aspects that go into when you're with somebody so much on the road. But there's weeks that I'm with him more than I'm with anybody else, including family, and it's a cool bond that you create with not just tag team partners, with anybody you travel with. There's wrestlers who are not partners who have constantly been, travel partners throughout their careers. And it's a really cool bond that you create in that aspect of it. Yeah.
Outside of pro wrestling, I love getting on your Twitter because you are like the jack of all trades. And as far as you're talking about stock market, you're talking about actually for stock market advice recently. And then you're talking about your Xbox, you're talking about comic books, and you're talking about Star Wars. So
I try to have fun with social media. I try to avoid too much of hot topics. I'd probably have a whole lot more followers if I would throw out some pretty edgy thoughts and responses on politics and whatnot. But I try to just be something that we can all enjoy, at least on social media space, and promote shows and whatnot. Yeah.
So when you're home, what is a movie or television show that you just have to invest your time into when you get the opportunity?
I'm addicted to TV and movies. I love anything superheroes. I love all the CW stuff with Arrow, Flash. I mean, Arrow's done now, but Arrow, Flash, and the new Superman and Lois show is great. I love crime dramas. I'm a big Law and Order, SVU fan. I love time travel stuff. I'm watching 12 Monkeys now. It used to come on Sci-Fi, and I don't know if it's finished up or not. I'm in season 2, but I love time drama. Doctor Who, Timeless, any of that stuff. And so I'm constantly trying to soak up some form of television. Criminal Minds is another one I've been addicted to lately with crime drama. But yeah, it's a great escape for me, that and video games. TV's about all I get,
I tried to get Tom, and there for a while I had him because I'm a big CW verse person too. I love all that. And I had Tom into Arrow and Flash there for a while, but then he gave up on it because he says there's too many episodes this season. He said there's like 30 episodes a season. I can't do 30 episodes of this same storyline.
That's what makes it great for me. It's the longer, the better. The more content I get, the more excited I am. And, I love Star Wars, Mandalorian, and WandaVision's another one that was really good recently, too. So
yes,
I'm into it all, man. I can't stop. I'm addicted.
Oh, I 100% agree.
If the episodes of like Arrow and Flash wasn't so the same, like I felt like there were, you'd have 29 episodes in the season, but be 8 in the middle of them that I don't feel like the story progressed at all. And I'm just like,
Do you get that same feeling watching a lot of wrestling these days?
But I use the DVR. So that's what's, and I listen to a lot of podcasts about some of the wrestling stuff. So, because like for me, I record it all. I don't always get to watch it when it airs.
Yeah.
Now I try pay-per-views live, but the DVR is definitely my friend because there is a lot of content out there that I just can't stomach to watch all the way through.
See, I'm the total opposite, and this is not just superhero stuff and whatnot. This is with wrestling. I love it so much that I want to soak up every minute. And even like stuff I don't normally watch or enjoy, like at a wrestling show, I will sit and I'll try to watch every match, no matter how good or bad, or if I agree with it or whatnot. I just like soaking it all up. But that, that's just my old mindset with things.
Well, part of mine is just time crunch, trying to get, because I have a lot of other stuff too.
Yeah.
And trying to get it. There's so much out there, so much content to be had that there's probably 3 shows right now that I would want to watch that are on the back burner that I don't know if I'll ever even get to.
And that is a common problem. Not problem. It's not a problem when you have too much to watch, right? you get to pick and choose what you want to soak up. But with entertainment in general and wrestling in general, there's so much out there now. There's so many shows to watch. It's not like back in the day when there was only, 10 channels, 20 channels, or even when we started getting upwards of 60 channels. Now you can YouTube and Fight TV, and it's all over the place. And so with wrestling, you got WWE running 20 hours of TV a week now, whatever they produce, something ridiculous like that. Impact's doing their weekly TV. You got MLW, you got Ring of Honor, New Japan's throwing their TV over here now. You've got what else?
AEW.
AEW running, and they're adding more online content now, and there's people who sit and they will soak up every minute of this, kind of like I'm willing to do with superheroes and stuff like that. But for the common person, for the general fan, it's impossible with so much going on in life. You can't sit and soak up every piece of wrestling anymore, but it's good and bad. It's good that there's so many places that guys can have jobs. It's good that fans have a choice of what kind of product they want to soak up rather than being forced to really sit and choose one or two options. They now can do whatever they want. It's bad because there's so much content out there. It's hard to stand out and hard to get crazy big ratings like you used to back in the day. I don't think WWE cares too much about the ratings, though. They're making record profits off of their network deal, and Peacock, and live events aren't a thing anymore, and they seem to be actually saving money. So I don't know. It's crazy times.
I'm going to do some rapid fire questions with you since you're so diverse in everything possible. Okay. Number one, if you could have one singles match with any professional wrestler in history, who would it be?
Oh my God, that's such a tough question. I would probably say Hogan, just because I'd want to be the heel, and I'm smaller, so I don't know if Hogan would be willing to sell for me too much, but I want to be the heel that gets the jump on Hogan and just has that moment, especially back in the day, like in the 80s, right? The environment, feeling the energy of an arena, wanting to see that Hogan come back while you're the heel getting heat on him. That would be a high to me, unlike any other. So I would probably pick Hogan in the prime era.
All right. If you were to turn on Elliot, or Elliot was to turn on you, which would be the more likely heel?
Oh, it'd be me. Elliot would be the hot, fiery baby face. Anytime that we are baby face in a town, it's very rare, but if we've been somewhere long enough, eventually we'll have to turn, at least for a hot minute. Elliot is the one with the baby face charisma, and the one that people will really rally behind with energy and promos. I tend to be the Ricky Morton. I'm just selling, and I'm doing a damn good job at that. But Elliot's going to be the baby face. I'm going to be the Ricky Morton that turns into Richard Morton.
The best Star Wars movie of all time is what?
It's not just the best Star Wars movie, Aaron. It's the best movie of all time, and that is The Empire Strikes Back. Tom made a face that he didn't agree with me.
See, I'm like the feel-good story type of guy, so I love Return of the Jedi.
See, and that's really good, and that's another thing me and Elliot argue on. Elliot, he says his is Return of the Jedi, bar none. He will argue about you with it until the sun comes up. But for me, it's Empire, just because the story and the heat, and heels are up, and it's I love it. It hooks me wanting more, and I'm big Vader Mark too. So
see, I'm a Rogue One guy.
Rogue One's great.
I loved it. It was just totally different from everything else that they had done at the time. So, I could rewatch that one 100 times. I love it.
It's great. It's and the finish is pretty good too.
Best superhero movie of all time is what?
Superman with Christopher Reeves, Richard Donner's version. Very good. Love me, Christopher Reeves. He's probably the best superhero of all time in terms of taking a live action version of something to form. It's it's perfect, and I think there's many who will agree with me on that. I think if you're doing the Marvel movies, I think was it the Russo brothers? Some of those guys, they make you watch the Christopher Reeves version of Superman before you even touch a Marvel project, just because that's the groundwork.
Are you excited for the Snyder Cut?
Yeah, I'll check out the Snyder Cut. I'm not a big fan of DC's movie universe at the moment. It's a little too much over the top CGI, dark, boom, boom, boom all the time. I think the new Batman movie, The Batman, is going to be pretty good story-wise. Looking forward to that. And like I said earlier, I'm really enjoying the Superman and Lois right now because they've taken it back and put story in the front, and they're treating characters right. And it feels almost like Arrow did in season 1 and 2.
Yeah, the new Superman and Lois is really good. I love the whole dynamic with the kids. And
I thought I would hate the kids and everything. I thought there's no way they're going to hook me into this show. The Tyler Hoechlin, I think that's his name, who's playing Clark, he does a tremendous job, and it's much better than he even did in some of the crossover stuff.
Right.
I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I hope it stays that way.
Tom, try it out.
I mean, you're selling me on it.
It's totally different than all the others because it's all about the family and the family aspect of it. It's really
good storytelling, really good character building. They respect the character. They're showing that throughout this whole thing, and they're taking it serious. It's just missing like a John Williams theme at the beginning. There needs some good. Superman always has a really good theme. Even Lois and Clark back in the day with Dean Cain, they had that really good song at the beginning, and this just has nothing. So they need that. But other than that, we're good.
Matt, before we let you go, tell everyone where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, across all social media. Now, this is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatnot, at Sigmon Wrestling, SIGMON Wrestling. And that's where I update everything about my life coming and going and all the wrestling shenanigans that Elliot and I get into and whatnot. So, yeah, across the board.
Matt, thanks so much for actually joining us tonight. I've told many people, I think you're one of the smartest men in the wrestling business.
I owe that to so many who laid the groundwork for me to be here. And I'm very thankful for all of them. I'm not the smartest man in the room, but I try to soak up and learn every day and put that knowledge forward just like they did for me. So,
absolutely, man. I want to thank you for joining us. Also, everyone, again, if you have not got a chance yet, pick up a copy of my book, Independent Road: A Wrestler's Journey. Matt's story is in that book.
What a great book, by the way. What a great book. I've enjoyed seeing, so much of the coverage for it, and it's done so well at Barnes & Noble. And I've seen, friends of mine and stuff pick it up and love it. It's great stories. And you got a good selection of wrestlers, including myself. But it's a fantastic read.
Yeah, it did a whole lot better than I thought it would, to be honest, because it's one of those things you never know. You never know. You like to think that the wrestling fans will go towards it and the stories will be captivating. I think I did a really good job, like you're saying, as far as picking the right type of people, because I didn't want everyone's story to be the same.
You got everybody. You went across the board, and it's a wonderful selection of some really hardworking people.
I appreciate that.
I don't know if I've said this, but on page 172, that gentleman is breathtakingly handsome. So check.
Oh Lord, I'm gonna have to edit. I'm gonna do a special version where it's edited out, I guess. Tell you what. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you subscribe on the YouTube channel here. I appreciate all the support always. Pick up your copy of the book at Barnes & Nobles, and don't forget we got our T-shirts over at Pro Wrestling Tees as well. Matt, thank you, sir. Stay safe.
Thank you, guys. We'll talk again soon, I hope.
All right. Everybody out there, stay safe as well, and have a good night.